In this video, I've got two budget phones going head to head in a camera face-off. TCL, Google, who wins? Let's find out. If you're looking for tech reviews that give you the information that you actually care about, then hit that subscribe button and be sure to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. In case you missed my last few videos, well, really the only excuse for that is you're just new here and you haven't subscribed yet. Go ahead and do that. But if you are subscribed, where have you been? I have been putting the Pixel 4a up against a number of other phones. However, I haven't put the XL Pro to the test yet. So let's see how these two super budget phones compare to each other. Hey guys, Future Mike here. Just want to let you know that I made a mistake through the entire video of calling the TCL 10 Pro the 10L Pro. There is no 10L Pro. There's a 10L, which is even more budget, and then there's the 10 Pro. So I said it through the entire video, and it's done and edited, and I didn't realize it till as I was about to upload it. So I'll jump on here and ask for forgiveness and say sorry, but it's the 10 Pro. So just thought I'd let you know. Back to the video. Real quick, I just want to share how I like to test out phone cameras. So number one is sun/daylight pictures with no sun. Number two are portrait/macro. Number three, low light and night shots. And number four, of course, the rear-facing and front-facing video cameras. Starting off with a super bright sunny day, you can see these phones really have their own style. The Pixel brings a more natural feel to the photo, but still offers a ton of dynamic range. The 10L Pro brings a very bright, very saturated picture. Now, with how it processes these photos, I thought that the shadows would actually be blown out, but to my surprise, it did a great job keeping them even. So as far as these bright sunny pictures, it's all really what people find appealing to their eye. If I were to criticize each of these phones if I had to, it would be that the Pixel needs to saturate some more, and the 10L needs to tone it down a little bit. But then again, that's my preference. Now, if you're someone who actually likes to edit photos a little bit like I do, I could see the Pixel being a little bit easier to do what you want with the shot and not lose too much quality. When it comes to the shots where the sun is very little to no factor, you can see the same thing for each camera, as the Pixel looks a little closer to what real life looks like. Now, the 10L Pro actually does a great job where the sun's helping the shot a little bit, but when the sun isn't present, it tends to oversaturate in my opinion. Now in these shots where the sun is there but isn't a factor in the picture, I actually lean towards the brighter colors of the 10L Pro. Now the Pixel doesn't disappoint at all. In all the shots the Pixel did were even and the color is more of what I'm seeing. Now really all I have to do is just bump up the contrast and saturation and I'd be pretty happy. Now before we take a look at more of the specialized shots that I like to do, let's see how the front-facing video portions on these phones compare. All right, so we got our vlog style going on here with the front-facing cameras. We got the TCL 10 Pro here, and of course the Pixel 4a. And right off the bat, I'm seeing that focus zoom here on the TCL, which I experienced when I first messed around with the phone and taking pictures. And the Pixel 4a feels like it's not as zoomed in. Not perfect, but man, let me tell you, I really got to hold you guys back to like just get more than just my head in to that shot. And, you know, it's a little difficult, but, you know, it is what it is. However, as far as how they look, they both look really good. I mean, it's tough. I'm going to have to take a look at the footage afterwards. And just a second ago, we were walking by the water, so you can get an idea on how it sounds with background noise and how I sound while I'm talking with something going on in the background. Well, considering I couldn't have put these cameras at worse angles, they did a really good job. With that sun behind me, the phones actually had some kind of dynamic range. The mics, on the other hand, complete opposites. Now the Pixel was more wide open, and you could hear everything that was going on around me while I was talking. Now, you could also hear me talking with no problem, but you certainly know that there's a creak running behind me. The 10L Pro, well, it was overmuted. The creak for the sound wasn't there at all, but the noise cancellation, in my opinion, was way overdone. Now, as far as stabilization goes, they did a great job while I was walking around, which is important. Now, I've said in the video that the 10L Pro is just too cropped. I really wish that they would just go with a wider lens on that front. So, which style of camera do you prefer so far between the two? Please leave a comment down below. And let's go ahead and get back to the photos. Now, when it comes to the macro shots with no portrait, the XL Pro is still giving the photo a lot of color, but I feel like the subject is actually getting lost in that little bokeh out part surrounding it. Where the Pixel does a really good job giving the subject good focus, and since the colors are a little more natural, I feel like that there's more dynamic range going on. If I were to adjust this photo just a little bit on the Pixel, I felt like I wouldn't lose much range. Real quick, here are some obligatory selfie shots. I actually feel like in the sun shot, the XL Pro was trying to keep me more even, so the dynamic range suffered a little in the sky area. The Pixel, it did an okay job, but I gotta say that I'm not really that tan. And in the shade, the same thing. The XL Pro chose to make sure that my face was properly exposed, but the background, well, it really suffered. While the Pixel did a better job giving the background a little better exposure, it wasn't perfect, but a little bit better. When it came to the portrait shots, I actually chose to shoot the same area that I did in the past, that no trespassing sign. I feel both did a really good job here. Now the XL Pro did let a little bit of the grass towards the front focus in around the sign, but then again, that was probably just my error. Now in this next shot, I decided to try to do the blur in the front of the picture. Well, the XL Pro just didn't want to cooperate. The Pixel did, and it looks pretty cool. Well, now it's time for the night mode, and what you're about to see, well, it just isn't fair. TCL, thanks for coming, maybe next time. I just can't believe that a $349 smartphone in the Pixel gives these kind of night shots. It might actually be on par with the iPhone. Now for the rear video portion, which I do need to stop for a second and address an issue that I'm having with a lot of Android phones. Many of the phones tested record in a video format called Rec 2020. Most other phones record in a format called Rec 709 or something similar. Since I'm editing these anyway, I decided just to show you guys what Rec 2020 looks like untouched and if I converted the footage to that Rec 709. The converted footage looks way better and more even. Now this is more closer to what the Pixel footage looks like, which you're about to see. My problem with doing this is when you share these videos off of these type of phones, say from the XL Pro, to things like Instagram and Facebook, that rear video is gonna still look more saturated to what you're seeing on the phone. Now I'm pretty sure John Q. Consumer is gonna see this and think, what is wrong with my phone? And thus begins the vicious cycle of not being able to figure out what's wrong with the phone, thus getting pissed at the brand or the provider, and then that leads to never buying the brand again. This is why I don't convert the footage when I bring it in to show it, because it does not show what it looks like when you share it. Now, I'll do both from now on, but moral of the story, companies, stop recording in the Rec 2020. It just doesn't look good. Please. Okay, with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the head-to-head video from the rear cameras. So now we're testing out the rear shooters. Walking through a little bit of shade here, as you can see the sun out beyond. And I want to get an idea how these work in lower light, if you necessarily even want to call it that. It's a very bright and sunny day, but we're just in some shade. And I want to see how these work. Now, of course, flipping these around, you can see what it looks like when someone's in frame. Looking at these rear shooters, both do at 4K. I believe 30 frames per second, if I'm not mistaken, but I'll verify that and put it down below for you. But I think they do. I was impressed with both of them as far as the ability to capture 4K, produce it, and how it looks, and they're pretty decent. Now, the nice thing about the TCL is you have multiple lenses, so you can do an ultra-wide and a 2x zoom in standard. So that has the advantage over that. Well, since I do have the XL Pro footage converted to that Rec 709, it looks way better next to the Pixel. Both do still have their own styles though. The XL Pro still is a little bit more saturated and more contrast on me, but where the Pixel lost a little bit of the bright sun in the background to keep me more even, it wasn't horrible, but definitely noticeable. Stabilization did absolutely an awesome job on these. No complaints there. As far as the mics go, really there is nothing else to say. It's the same thing as we saw before. Now keep in mind, the XL Pro is a $450 phone and the Pixel's $349. And a side note, the TCL has a 2x zoom lens and a super wide angle. Now, in some people, I can understand that you absolutely need those things. If that's the case, Pixel 4a is off the list. For many people, and I am one of them, I used the SE 2020 for about a month, and these are some of the things that I missed in additional lenses. But for the features the Pixel 4a does have compared to the TCL, it's a steal. However, if you do need those additional lens options and the 48 megapixel camera, well, then the TCL is a great pick for you for a budget device. Now, if you want to see how the Pixel 4a matched up against some other budget phones, feel free to check out this playlist right here. And of course, have you hit that subscribe button yet? Go ahead and do it, it's free. You guys take it easy, and I'll see you in the next video.